Welcome to all my moms, pops, guardians, and guests to the Mom and Pop Spot podcast. I am your host, Mr. St. Patrick, and for today's guest, we have a dope family coming in today to share their experiences. We have a mom and a dad that are sure to break down how family first is always the priority and the importance of it. Please show love to, oh man, I almost messed with my sound bites. Please show love to Christian and Rosa to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, how are you guys feeling?
Excited?
Yeah? Is this your
Nervous?
guys' first podcast?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I dabble with streaming and stuff like that, so not to embarrass or shy on the cameras,
Yeah.
but then you look around the setup and you're like, all right, I feel small.
Well, see, and that's one thing too I wanted to talk to you because of the streaming thing.
Yes.
My son is a huge gamer and he's been wanting to do like something along the lines of that. And I keep telling him, like, just hit up my guy, like he will talk to you, like he'll help you. And we're still working on a few different things because they essentially, if I could, I'd do probably maybe 5 or 6 different podcast shows, but I need one to hit to be able for the other ones to, they don't have a podcast network, whatever.
Right.
But I don't want to get off on a tandem. How are you guys doing 1 to 10 mentally, emotionally, physically, everything in general?
If you compile it all together,
Yes.
I'm honestly a 10.
Oh, nice.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
good.
You too?
Mhm.
Wow. I got to keep going back. Normally we get like 5 or 7. Normally I'm at a 7. I toggle anywhere from like, I don't know, 5 or 7 depending on the week. But because of parenthood, it's always crazy, right?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
is.
And anything challenging this week with parenthood?
For me, honestly, it's just the burden that comes from the type of schedules that we live.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily anything. It's stress, of course, right? Because
Right.
I believe we live pretty crazy lives.
Yeah.
But no, it's just it's a lot. Our days are from 6 in the morning to 10 at night, nonstop,
Yeah.
Monday to Friday. So for me, it's just dealing with just the natural stress of dealing with a schedule like that. But
Mhm.
aside from that, I don't know, wife, you can correct me.
Yeah.
No, it's the same. Yeah. The
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
We have so many things like right at the minute, and that's what is stressful. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the questions I asked this past week was about the toughest things with parenthood. What has been the hardest thing for you guys so far?
In just parenthood
Yes.
as a whole.
Yes.
Well, right off the back, I think there's been moments where we have come to crossroads of the type of education we want to give our kids,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to correcting them. So we've had scenarios, very difficult scenarios, where how we were gonna correct one of our kiddos was pretty much gonna set the tone for all future events. So
Okay.
one of the hardest things to do is, as the one that does the final discipline, or sort of like, I call it the atomic bomb.
Oh, okay.
Like you have them, but
Yeah.
you're never showing and coming into a battle, threatening to
Right.
shoot a nuke.
Yeah.
But there has been moments where unfortunately they had to be deployed.
Yeah. That's funny.
And
Who's a good cop, bad cop?
I'm probably good cop.
Yeah.
I think we're half and half.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know. It
We're
sounds like it's
having
calling you
it.
bad cop.
Yes. Yes, I am.
I think we choose when it's like my turn to be the bad cop and
Yeah.
his turn.
Okay.
Like we just, balance it out. Like,
Right.
okay, this is your time. You got this.
I get that because that's like with me and my wife. Like we're trying to figure out the situation. Figuring out like, okay, like whose turn is it? You know what I mean? Or like what's the situation look like that where I need to step in or where she needs to step in. I think it's very important that the mom needs to show her, her role because I don't ever want our kids to take advantage of them. Like in our house, it's mom's way or you're gonna have issues with me. In our case, I have 3 boys and I want them to know that all the love needs to go to mom. Like that's the number one rule. She's our backbone. Do never disrespect her. You know what I mean? She is what makes this family. And I think that's where I make sure where I'm going with that. I don't want to go off on that.
No, I think she's right. Because for me, I'm more like the goofy one
Yeah.
in our relationship, and that translates to how we communicate with our kids as well.
Right.
But we both do dish out correction in our own ways.
Yeah.
Almost either working off of each other,
Uh-huh.
but we both disciplined.
You know, one thing I have to be, I don't want to keep going all over the place. I was actually excited because the fact that one thing I have to honestly say is no matter what I'm seeing you guys post, you guys are the reason why you know going with this episode, you know, family first. You guys have always seemed to be a unit. It's never just like where it's like, oh, it's you know, it's about me. It's about you guys have always set nice ground rules for your family. I wanted to point that out. It's nice because you guys are always doing something, you know, for your kids. You guys are doing stuff for a family. I wanted to give you your flowers in that case. So
Oh, thank
yeah,
you. I really appreciate that. Whatever we do at home, it's for our kids.
right.
Those are they are the priority in our lives.
Yeah,
We do want to change their future.
yeah,
I always tell my mom because she's like, "Well, you're supposed to be doing this and you're supposed to be doing that," and I'm like, "Yeah, mom, I'm not trying to raise another Rosa or another
right.
Christian.
Yeah,
I'm trying to raise someone different,
yeah.
and because of that, we need to do different things."
I agree 100%. Yeah, and then not to, you know, or to add to that, we're also living in a different time. You know, we're not living, you know, how we were in the past. Like now, it's a whole different time. So I'm on the same page with that because you're trying to figure out how am I raising my child in today's time.
Right.
Not with because if you raise them what you guys went through, they're gonna also get your trauma. They're also gonna get, you know, a lot of, you know, that, you know, atmosphere.
And the
I don't
results are probably gonna be the same.
yeah,
So
and I don't want my kids to have my trauma because I went through a lot, you know what I mean? So one of the thing that I wanted to ask is what has been the hardest thing for you outside, you know, outside of, you know, parenthood, but just you as a mother?
I think I had to grow, be an adult, like
Yeah.
probably a young age.
Okay.
I was, taking care of my sister, my
Yeah.
brother. My mom used to work whole day. My dad came to United States, so pretty much I was by myself in
Yeah.
Mexico with them. So that affect me, but I transform that into, okay, how can I get this that affect me into something that I can change my future and my kids' future.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Let me go back. I got to give an applause to someone because we just had a big thing that happened not too long ago.
Oh yeah,
You wanna share? That's
I
pretty
can share.
exciting. Yeah, let's share it.
Yeah, so recently I had the blessing to be sent out to Juarez, Mexico.
Yeah,
Um, this is 5 years in the making,
yeah,
which was to finally come back with my residence.
yeah,
So a little bit of it is I went from being able to work because I do have a work permit, but
yeah,
pretty much being defined as having no status inside of this country
yeah.
to now being a permanent resident.
That's big.
It's huge, man. It's
Yeah,
huge. Not only because of the security that it brings to our household, um, but of course all the opportunities that come afterwards. I do think though we're a pretty blessed family where most of the blessings that are coming to us are gonna be possibly leisure blessings
yeah,
just because we can do anything we want now, right?
right.
I'm not restricted by the fact that I have to stay inside that the country without being able to go out.
Yeah,
So it is a huge moment. I hadn't gone back to Mexico in over 18 years
wow.
since my mom made the decision to bring myself and my siblings to this country when we were very young. So visiting Mexico after all this time, it was sort of like a shock, to be quite frank.
Yeah, real emotional.
It was very emotional. I realized that as much as I spent my childhood there,
Yeah,
I'm very much from over here
yeah,
because it was a cultural shock.
yeah,
A lot of the stuff, she kept guiding me to a lot of things that Christian, you can't do that. Christian, you can't say this
yeah,
because
yeah,
it was visiting a country that, although my whole culture is from over there, my whole blood is from over there. The day to day is different,
wow.
and there was a little bit of adjustment that I needed to do, and just taking into account, what we were gonna do, the security of the whole ordeal.
Yeah,
Um, is one of those things that is being noted down in my book of life as one of the biggest moments in my life because it changes a lot of
and I
parameters around
hope
ourselves.
I hope you know that you're touching people that you probably don't even know. Just the fact that you know you're You're somebody else's motivation story. He did it, so now I'm gonna prove to myself that I can do it too.
I appreciate that. It sways sort of to the comment that you said about the social media and
Yeah,
the post about our families. That was actually a shock that you made that comment to me because
I watch you guys all the time. To be
we
honest with you,
and
I mean, yeah,
I
not in
did.
a weird way. Yeah.
It's of course it's weird. Nah, just kidding. It's like he's watching, but he's not liking our post. Let me tell you
Right?
Yeah. No, I'm liking it.
that.
Yeah, I'm liking it.
No, but to be quite frank, like we don't involve ourselves in social media in order to produce an image or
Right.
there's no focus or no plan,
You're
there,
not fixated on all that
no, there's nothing
glamour.
happening when it comes to posting on social media, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that now gaining your feedback that, oh, you guys look like a well put family, um I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I like hearing
And
that.
I say that because of the fact that kind of going off what you were saying is a lot of times people will post stuff and that's not them outside of the
Right.
light. You know what I mean? And I know your guys' heart. So I know that outside and in, this is what I'm seeing. You know what I mean?
As
I'm reading the book from,
yeah,
they say a power picture, says 1,000 words, but I know each and every word because I'm seeing what you guys are putting out.
I was gonna say
Um,
that. A lot of people like try to like, okay, do I look this for this picture? Do I
yeah,
look like that? We're not trying that,
yeah,
like, at all. Like, we post in my case, I
yeah,
post most of the stuff about my kids, my family. So my parents, my dad is still Mexico. My
yeah,
family in Mexico can actually like see where my kids at. Like there's not. I just have my mom and my sister here, but
yeah,
all my family is in Mexico. So that's one of the main reasons why I
right.
try to show and have our family out there.
And one thing that because we always focus in on the negatives of social media, I see it as a positive because that's the way that we can connect to family that isn't here.
Right.
Even like sometimes when I'm at work, that's how I'm connecting to people. That's how I'm, it's crazy because you always see those stories where you're like, man, I've never met this kid and I'm watching this kid grow up right before my very eyes because of social media. Sometimes it's a beautiful thing because you get to see your friends, where you just can't catch up because
Yeah.
life is just so crazy, especially with parenthood. Sometimes trying to, orchestrate 5-10 minutes, to go hang out is hard.
Well, social media is a tool,
Right.
and as a tool, you have to decide how you use it.
Yeah.
So to take a hammer, for example, a hammer is very good at nailing or hitting nails.
Right.
But if you take it and hit somebody in the head with it, it's gonna do a quite fine job. But you probably shouldn't be hitting people in the head with it.
Right.
Same thing with social media. We can choose to use it in a very productive way,
Yeah.
or we can use it to hit people in the head with it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we do see a lot of that, but we stay as far away from it as we can.
Yeah. I have to say, you guys have a beautiful family. Your
Thank
kids,
you.
granted, they're still younger. What do you say, for your guys' experience? What are you saying makes a successful child or kids?
I was thinking that that's one of the questions that we're sort of thinking about it. I'm gonna steal a line from somebody that I follow a lot. That for me, a successful kid, is a kid who's desirable socially.
Okay.
So this is a kid that kids want to play with them, and adults don't mind interacting with them.
Right.
So if you have a kid that can stand themselves socially and be likable, I think you're doing a pretty good job as a parent.
But it's hard though too when you say to be able to be socially, accepted and be able to be, socially adjusted in the world. Because the fact that, we went through, COVID where everything stopped. Kids weren't even in school. They had to, they had to like, start a whole new program. When they went back to school, it's like, okay, how am I, talking to these kids again? It messed up their social skills completely.
I'm gonna be very honest with you.
Right.
Now, I don't want to say this and use it as credit to our parenting
Yeah.
because I cannot contextualize it on how it happened.
Okay.
But I don't think our kids had that trouble.
Okay.
Our kids did not have, and mom, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think our kids had a negative social outcome from COVID and when we all went into our own little caves.
Yeah.
Um, there's always something we've tried to manage with our kiddos, which is making sure that they're welcoming every chance they get when they're interacting with others and stuff
Right.
like that. I'm trying to articulate it as I say it why they didn't come out with a negative effect. Um, but I cannot. This actually is something I have not sat down and tried to make sense of.
Yeah.
Um, but they actually came out completely fine. It was a pause, and then as soon as school started, as soon as we
They're
started,
able to
it
bounce
was
back.
just
Wow.
the switch flipped.
So I'm speaking from experience because I have both my, my oldest, they got really shy. They went from, dancing, laughing, and just now, like when we go to, some spots for the first time, they shy. And I'm like, go talk to, figure out what that person likes. So one of my goals as a father has always been to get them to do anything and everything. And I'm trying to do it by example. So like I got the licensing to where I can marry people. I'm working on getting, a bartender license. I'm working on, I'm doing this podcast show. So I'm doing enough so that way they can see me. Okay, dad's doing it, so I can do it. When they get of age, I want them to do 3 or 4 different things. I want them to learn, at least one instrument. I want them to know at least one good sport. Not where I'm going to force it on them. I'm just going to encourage them and say, okay, like, what is your specialty? And let's run with it. So that way, no matter where they are, they can function with someone. If it's someone that wants to talk stocks, they can talk stocks. If someone that wants to talk about pop culture, they can do that as well. You know, and because I said I watch you guys, what has been your guys' success story? For as parenthood.
Mm. Well, right now, Esme's probably. So we have our oldest who's 9,
Yeah.
and they follow her as 5 and 4. So 5 and 4, they're still under construction.
Oh.
But our oldest, the way she
Uh-huh.
is the testament of what we're doing,
Okay.
and she's the one that produces the most joy and recognition to the decisions we take as parents.
Okay.
um I I I mean, I will take your whole time frame of this podcast saying positive things about my daughter Esme.
Yeah.
Um, but she's finally, becoming a very independent young lady.
Uh-huh.
Um, since very, very young, we made the decision to make her responsible for herself.
Yeah.
So just to give a quick anecdotal experience here,
Right.
she when she's 9, she's not going to the 5th grade. When she wakes up, she actually wakes up before I do.
Oh, wow.
She wakes up, she prepares herself breakfast,
Yeah.
she prepares her little sister breakfast, she gets herself ready, she gets her little sister ready. By the time I wake up and I'm ready to go, they're ready to go.
Wow.
Now, this could easily be classified as, because I've heard it is that maybe I should do a little bit more.
Mhm.
I think I'm open. The criticism is open for that, but she's just tremendously independent, and that independence translates over to all the extra activities that we're doing for her. She's heavy on soccer.
Yeah.
We do soccer 6 days of the week. And you can see it, especially when she interacts with adults. They can see it. They're always complimenting it.
Right.
And when she's interacting with other kids as well, she can socialize. She has that matureness to be able to stand her ground when it comes to her morals.
Yeah.
um so her right now, to your question once again, I mean, I cannot say enough about her. and
Yeah.
and and the other two, of course, they're there. But they're still a project. They're
Let me
still.
let me ask you a question that it might make you feel uncomfortable, and you might not even know how to ask or answer it, but I need to ask it. Who's a better soccer player, your daughter or David Beckham?
Oh, easy, David Beckham.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
I'm a realist, man. I'm a realist.
All right, cool.
That's
Um,
another thing, like
yeah,
parents. I don't think by saying, "Hey, I love you," I'm gonna make everything for you.
right.
Fortunately, long road, it's gonna be a mistake for them.
Yeah,
We're not letting them to get hurt right now
mhm,
when they're still inside of the our house,
yeah,
when we're still like taking care of them. We should let them hurt. We should let them suffer pain,
yeah,
because that's the only way how they're gonna be ready for life. Because that's life.
yeah,
It's pain, going through hard stuff, and if you're not ready for that, you're gonna break down and probably go into easy things,
yeah,
like other stuff.
I love
yeah.
So
that.
And
I heard a quote this morning. that goes with her, because I do love that she said that, because it said kids can handle the truth. What they are not gonna be able to handle is lies, which is pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
But I have seen it a lot, where we try to protect our children from certain realities
Mhm.
that we may say that they don't have the capacity to understand.
I
Um,
think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I do think
Yeah.
is absolutely incorrect, because an example, I'm my daughter's coach, but
Yeah.
sometimes she'll come out a game and say, "Hey, how did I do?"
Yeah.
And I'll be like, "Bro, you sucked."
Yeah.
Right? So is that type of just level-headed, um, always with the truth first.
Yeah.
So of course is you suck, but here's some of the things you actually did pretty well.
Yeah.
Here's actually what you did wrong. Let's
Here's
work
how
on
you
it.
can improve of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's work on it. So I don't know. I don't know how to define, the need. Sometimes that we do get that feeling of protecting them from, no, don't tell them that, because
I
it
talk
may
to
hurt
my
their.
kids like regular adults. I mean,
Yes, yes,
because I think it's very important. And the biggest thing, the biggest pet peeve I have in my family is lies. I don't think you should be lying. Now
I
there's a,
agree.
I don't mind joking, but the lying part, like, it's just, I don't like that. Like, let's be honest. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm talking to you and I'm talking to you, like a person, don't lie to me. You know what I mean? I'm being honest with you because I'm talking to be like, sometimes I explain to them, real life situations. We have a situation where we have a family member who, is really bad into drugs right now. And the last time that my kids seen him, this person wasn't, they were, in a decent state. And now when they see him, they're like, what happened? Drugs. What happened? That, drugs. I'm like, this is exactly what the situation is. I think it's very important when you're honest with them. So that way they don't go looking for those answers from someone else
Right.
that might feed them, the nonsense, the bullshit, whatever the case is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no need
Um,
to filter.
yeah.
No need to filter.
Last question before we go into the potty break. Can you put in order and tell me why you would put this in order from most important to least? So we got religion, kids, your spouse, career, and yourself.
Ooh. Wife, you want to go first or want me to go first?
Um, Religion.
Okay. Is your
Okay,
number one?
I agree.
Okay.
Spouse second,
Okay.
self third,
Okay.
Kids.
Fourth.
kids, and then career.
Okay. Can you say why you guys picked that order?
We agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Oh, okay. Why in that order?
Religion, God's first.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll shout that any day.
Yeah.
Um, so that's easy.
Yeah.
Spouse second. We've always said it.
And that's spouse every day, right? That's not like on a Thursday when you didn't make dinner and
Spouse
Right.
every day.
yeah,
I
okay.
tell my and fun, my children will come up to me and be like, "Daddy, who do you like best, me or mommy?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Your mommy, of course, any
Yeah.
day."
I mean, I agree with it. Yeah, I agree with it because that's
I love her more.
yeah,
You love her more. I love her more.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, the kids are a byproduct of our relationship.
right.
Our relationship comes first, always.
Yeah,
Um, I think she is, and this is gonna sound non-filter. I
yeah.
think this is gonna sound bad. Rosa is more important to me than my kids.
But it doesn't sound bad to me because I
Okay.
understand where you're going with it. Without my kids, my kids wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my wife. My life wouldn't be where it's at if it wasn't for her. My wife is everything, and that's the reason why I was mentioning earlier. Like my wife, when I say she is the backbone, she is the backbone. When I need reassurance, she's right there to say everything's gonna be okay. When I'm having a bad day or whatever the case is, even when we have our arguments or our disagreements, whatever the case is, we're still on the same page. Like she is my support system. Like I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I was able to do if it wasn't for her. You know what I mean? So I agree with you 100%. Um, it's the next part that has me like confused because you have career and then kids.
We have kids, then career.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
on the same page then.
yeah. Because
Yeah. Okay.
because
I was
self,
like, wait a minute.
and then the self. I mean,
It was self, kids, and
yeah,
then
Or
it's
maybe that's what I'm.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I'm thinking about.
So
Yeah.
it's spouse, self, then kids.
Okay.
So I'm putting self after spouse because my wife comes before me.
I'm same page.
Um, and maybe wife, you want to inject your thoughts into that here after I'm done. Um, but once I come into the picture, I have to be mentally healthy in order to execute as I want to execute when it comes as a husband and as a parent. The goal that I have for myself, to be the type of that I want to be,
Right.
and to be the type of husband I want to be,
Yeah.
it is a very high level performance. And in order to execute that very high level goal,
Yeah.
I need to be well. So I will sometimes put myself before my kids.
Yeah.
I'll tell my wife, when stamina is short, I'm like, for me, my recharge time is
Yeah.
is to be completely by myself. I'll be like, wife, I'm having one of those days. I need to be in a room by myself.
It's like you want to go to Mexico for a weekend and
I will. Like, yeah, it's like, just leave me alone.
Yeah. But I get that because sometimes like my wife, she'll like, I'll get home and she'll be asking me a ton of questions, stuff like that. I'm like, give me 10 minutes. Let me just zone out because I'm trying to decompress because today was, a little stressful, but just give me 10 minutes and then I'll be able to, do whatever. So I get that. But I feel like where I think it's the kids first because I feel like I'm wrong if I don't say it that way. I feel like I
Mm.
need to say kids and then myself because like no matter what I do in my whole 11 years capacity of being a father has always been my kids before I put myself.
Well, I think it's more romantic if you say it like that. It feels more romantic to say kids before self.
Yeah.
It feels more right. Um,
But it's honest with me because the fact that a lot of times like if we've been through some times where kids need to eat, I'll sacrifice myself. There's certain situations where like I'm working nights right now to kind of like help with the babysitting situation. I'll work nights so my wife can figure out whatever she needs to do. I'm sacrificing myself before the kids, before anybody else. So that's what I'm saying. I'm speaking honest is because the kids really do come before
and I see your
myself.
point, because I think you're mentioning the physical part of it.
Right.
Um, and I can see where it applies to the physical. And correct me if I'm wrong here, wife, but I was sort of interpreting it in the mental,
mental.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
in the
Yeah.
mental.
And that's where I think I was agreeing with you because of the decompression and stuff like
Right.
that. Yeah.
So and I do think those two things can have that separation. Whether if we're talking about the physical,
Yeah.
then then
Then we're
then
on the same page, I think.
Right, right,
yes,
yeah.
Because
absolutely.
we're grinding every day.
Yeah.
Like we come from work and we still have to go and coach for 3 hours. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't want to do this.
It's
But at the end of
exhausting.
the day,
It is.
yes, we put
Yeah.
the kids first. Like as long as I see my daughter with a ball in her feet, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Like I know those 3 hours are gonna make a difference. For a couple months for
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
Right, but
Yeah.
in the way, probably why it didn't go there, and I should filter myself more. But I was gonna say that the physical is sort of the lowest lowest form of performing in life,
Right.
right? So there's a saying that if you ask a random dad, "Hey, are you a good dad?" and they
Yeah.
say yes, and then you ask why, and the dad answers, "Because my son or my kids, they have food, they have clothing,
Yeah.
they have schooling, and they have roof over their heads." And for me, it's not like, no, that doesn't mean you're a good dad.
Yeah.
That's just your duties by default.
Exactly. Exactly.
As like that
That is just a
default,
That should
basic.
that's
that
just
should
the
be the
basic,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I think about the physical, the physical sacrifices towards our kids, those are just by default.
Yes.
It happens. I don't know if it's a new generation, old generation stuff, but I have had a lot of conversations with many of the old generation,
Uh-huh.
and it's always the primary definition of good parenting.
Yeah.
The what I consider to be the default setting
Yeah.
for parent. You're gonna be a dad. Okay, these are the things you have to do, period.
Yeah.
And then anything you do above that, now we can start talking about you being a good parent.
Yeah. One thing that I always think about too when I'm mentioning, whether you're a good parent is when you question yourself. I question myself all the time. Am I a good dad? What can I do better as a dad? You know what I mean? So that's one thing I factor in. One thing that and another thing that I wanted to mention, one thing that irks me as parenthood is when a parent will be like, I need to babysit my kids. Like, no, you're watching your kids. You're not babysitting
You
your
know that I learned that from you long time
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
You
I don't
said
know. Yeah.
you yeah,
I
yeah,
still follow to it. So
long time ago, man, on
yeah.
32nd Avenue and Thomas, I
Thomas.
believe. You said I
Yeah.
remember you telling me, young Christian, you're like, no, you can't babysit your own kid.
Yeah.
That's still with me, man.
Yeah, I still say it to this day because you're not a babysitter. That's your parent, or excuse me, that's your child.
Yeah, you're gonna be
Be
a
a
dad.
parent.
Yep.
Yeah. But before we continue, we're gonna take a quick potty break. But before we do, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe to this channel, change the baby's diaper, and share the video for support. We'll be right back. How you guys feeling?
Good.
I'm gonna take a quick picture.
Just because they try to.
Welcome. A couple things.
Has
And back, everybody. That's not what I was gonna do. So when I edit it tonight, that'll be off. Yeah, is it on? Okay. So we are back. If you're watching, hello, welcome back. We're waiting for Elijah. He went and took a poop. So he'll be back any second now. Actually, here he comes. Yep. Did you wipe, Elijah? I hope he did. But before we go into the opinion section of the show, what would be your resolution with
No, I didn't wipe. I figured I could do it later.
man, drives me crazy. We've been hearing as the years progress, we hear more and more school shootings. That's all over. What do you think would be the resolution to school shootings?
Wife, I'll let you go first.
Probably have better control of the guns.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, maybe before you own a gun, make several tests.
Yeah.
Like when you go get a driver license,
Yeah.
you get a couple tests before you get a driver license. So maybe like mental and psychological
Yeah.
tests. I think that would be great for before you own a gun.
Yeah. We blame the schools, but it's because I'm thinking more of what can we do as parents to really protect our kids.
So I think that's a very difficult question because there's tragedies that you cannot protect your children from.
Mhm.
This could be school shootings, could be car accidents. Unfortunately, the harsh reality is that as a parent, there's a part of you that's just not gonna be able to be there.
Yeah.
We had a moment after the last the shooting in Texas.
Yeah.
Where the day after the shooting in Texas in Uvalde.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the day after, the school of our kids went in lockdown under the threat of a kid with a gun inside of it.
Yeah.
The day after.
Wow.
And we went into total freak out.
Yeah.
I was telling Rosa, hey, you should probably go just in case you're needed and they're releasing the kids. You should be there. But of course, it does not compare whatsoever with the parents that go through this.
Right.
It just gave me a small example of, geez, the fear is so real.
Yeah.
Of your kids being able to do that. I think a lot of people fall into a grave mistake of trying to give a one sentence answer to something that is very, very complicated.
Yeah.
I think the violence in school is unfortunately a byproduct of a whole bunch of things going wrong.
Yeah.
So like my wife said, the Second Amendment is unique to the United States.
Yeah.
I agree with the Second Amendment.
Right.
I see it as the right to protect yourself.
Yeah.
But I also see the need to make sure that people that are unhealthy do not get their hands in with
Right.
guns.
Yeah. The
Um,
evaluation, I think, would be big. So I agree with you on that.
absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I think a healthy person should own a tank if they want a tank.
Yeah.
But somebody who's not doing good mentally should not even have a knife.
Yeah.
And how do you make that happen? I don't know, but somebody has, you know, hopefully we can put smart people in place to make those type of decisions and strategies. But you have to you have to tackle the mental health just infrastructure for the United States.
Right.
You do have to have some form of better control over the guns. I find it ridiculous that you can go have a gun, go to what seems like a farm's market and sell it to another individual.
Yeah.
Once again, you that should be controlled. Like
Yeah.
own a
I
tank,
agree.
own a fighter jet, own anything.
Yeah.
But how do
And I've
we?
heard so many different good options, but I don't see us ever doing anything, pursuing those, from having, an actual police officer at every school.
Could I
Granted,
say something
we
on
do have
that?
a shortage and what?
I was saying, could I say something on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I like French fries.
What do you mean?
That's what I had to say about it. I like French fries. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, I was so confused.
I think there's like one of three solutions for this.
Yeah.
Two of them is not gonna happen because one of them would be to do what everyone's talking about and nobody wants is
Yeah.
to reform,
Yeah.
like get all the guns away from everybody. And this is an opinion pertaining to school shootings
Yeah.
because I don't believe that the people who are getting the guns and the mental state of the people who are getting the guns and the owners of the guns are the ones who are at fault. It's the
Right.
access that the children have to the weapons. So it doesn't matter if you're a good person, if you're a bad person, if you're a cop, if you're mentally stable or mentally unstable. It's the fact that the kid has access to that firearm.
Right.
So that's one way is taking the firearm out of homes, but nobody wants that because just like with you guys, I agree with the right to bear arms, the right to protect ourselves. I totally agree with that. The second option would be what you said, Patrick, is have physical police officers
Yeah.
at every school actually checking people.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen either
Yeah.
because our tax
Fortunately.
money isn't going to be able to afford that. And there's probably not even enough police to do that.
That's why I said the
You know what I
shortage.
mean? There's not enough police
Right.
to have them at every school and then still have enough police in the field. And then darn it, I think I'm going to forget the third one. There was a third option I had.
French
But
fries.
yeah, that
Just
was the
kidding.
third option is
Yeah.
whenever you get mad, just go have French fries.
Yeah.
Is it the biggest tragedy in our society?
Is what? School
So
shootings?
we
School
cannot
shootings.
abolish tragedies,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
School shootings the biggest tragedy happening in our societies,
Currently, no.
and because of course we need to talk about it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because it is a tragedy, and
Yeah.
we always have to talk about how we're gonna prevent tragedies.
Yeah.
But there's also, and this is an unfortunate question, is how many tragedies do we have? How many are we actually tackling to actually fix?
Uh-huh.
And where does school shootings rank?
Okay.
Because
That's a
then you
good
will
one.
have to argue
Yeah.
if, let's say, hypothetically,
Yeah.
let's say it ranks fourth. Well, you can't even begin to strategize on the fourth if you're not dealing with the first.
Right. I agree.
So it's, and again, it will take me a longer time to articulate through that list.
Yeah.
But it, once again, tragedies is so bad because we have the reflex to want to fix it, but it's not a one sentence solution,
Yeah.
nor can you dismiss past the other situations happening. I mean, just to brainstorm, is the drug epidemic in the country bigger?
Yeah.
Is the healthcare epidemic bigger? If you squish in there just because it's part of our community, is immigration bigger?
Yeah.
Like what are the biggest strategies? And some may say that, oh, we can work on it. We can work on all of them at the same time. No, we can't.
I have to disagree with you. I think we can because of education. We're so fixated my opinion, but I think we're so fixated on dumbing down the kids. We can give them the proper education and do it while they're in school, and just little, little tidbits, little things that they can do. We took away, a lot of the basics, we took away, cursive writing, which, hit or miss, with how people felt about that. But then they can switch it towards, they took, sex education out of majority of schools.
Mhm.
They can bring it back.
Darn it, that was the third one. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was the third one. Was educating,
Yeah. I think
getting
education is huge.
just access, and not necessarily access, but education of firearms. Started
Right.
at a
That's,
very
yeah.
young age. Started it at like third grade. Start teaching kids the do's and don'ts of firearms, because, like I said, it's number one and number two options aren't going to happen.
Yeah.
We're not going to get everybody to give up their guns, and we're not going to be able to have police officers at every school.
Yeah.
But if the kids are knowledgeable and know that it's, because that's usually what it is.
Yeah.
The kids just don't know. They're like, well, I know this thing is going to hurt this guy. I'm not. He doesn't understand the full aspect that is actually going to kill somebody, probably.
Right.
Let me ask this to the point of education though. Um, there. So during the early 2000s, we injected sex education into our schools.
Yeah.
Where in the 80s, 70s, it wasn't as prevalent.
Yeah.
Right. We have in the latest years, we have a much bigger teenage pregnancy rate than before we were teaching sex education.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll also try and ask, if education is key, why do we have samples in which we try to educate our kids? We had all the Dare Act. Was
Yeah.
it Dare with
Yeah.
the lion
Yeah.
or the dog, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had programs that were educating our kids and educating myself. I went through them
Yeah.
on drugs, on sex.
Yeah.
Yet we have the highest rates of teenage pregnancy and
Huh.
drug usage nowadays.
Yeah.
So, and pardon that I disagree with you guys, but I think there's ideas that I put them in the realm of utopian.
Yeah.
That because they sound that X is gonna give you Y, and it sounds almost logical.
Right.
But we do have samples in which we educate our kids on topics that do not prevent their actions as teenagers or young adults.
Yeah.
And once again, that comes with sex education and drug education.
I
I
think
think,
I have a rebuttal though for both of those
I'll
specific
and I might
subjects,
have something
as
too.
well
Perfect.
as gun though too. I'm
Yeah.
gonna put all three of them into this category.
Okay.
The reason that the education part does and would fail is because of society. Even though they're being educated, society isn't changing the way they're portraying it to our children, even though they have the education. So, like I'm saying, for drugs, for example, in our culture, in our society, drugs are okay. People do drugs. People are addicts, and some people are okay with it. Some people
Yeah.
are recovering. Some people are have sobriety. Some people are totally fine with being a high functioning drug addict. There's political officials on crack right now.
Yeah.
But the reason why it doesn't work is because we all know, well, not we all know, but there's a lot of people that know that that is still happening and that is still getting overlooked, even though we do have the education. But it's not going to change because it's still being overlooked. It's still being just a slap on the wrist
Yeah.
for doing these things. So I know I did say the education, but it's also going back to like what you said. It's not just one thing
Right.
isn't going to fix it. The change in the society or the culture would have to come along with the education for it to fully work completely. But in my opinion, I feel like that's why it has failed or it would fail, is because of the society and the culture wouldn't change with the education being provided.
And
I
I have,
agree with that.
I
yeah,
like
and
that.
I have to add too, in regards to the society, is because the fact that when you think about drugs, um, we went through, dare and everything else, and we're told, drugs are not. It goes within society and then also education. But when you think about, drugs, it's like, yeah, like don't do drugs, like we're good on it. But then you have everybody else glamorizing it. You got the people drinking it, putting it in their syrup. You have, all the celebrities, entertainers, they're highlighting it like, oh, this is cool. And it's like, no, it really isn't. The education portion of it is what I'm talking about, is the way that they were educating. I think needs to change. I remember a time when I was in a driving school. They showed me like all these like horrific, acts and says of what happened, the situation that happened, like they ran a red light, or whatever. I'm terrified to run, to run a red light because I'm thinking about those moments.
Right.
If you kind of at times go to the extreme, or you show them certain things and tell them this is exactly what's going to happen, like kind of what I'm doing with my kids about the drugs, I'm very honest with them. If you're very honest with us at that time, it might change a little bit.
Well, I actually, and I love this new, this sort of like the addition of, like, for example, not only education, but education working alongside something else.
Right.
Because I do believe that is some form of multi-factor solution, right?
Yeah.
You have to tackle so many angles to fix that one problem,
Right.
right? So absolutely, especially, and swinging it a little bit into the drug things. We had there, the generation that had there
Yeah.
is the generation dying under the bridge from heroin.
Yeah.
They went through that process, but I agree with you guys that is so much of it is cultural.
Yeah.
So much of it is, for example, and swinging it back to our kids, is we try so hard to keep our kids away from YouTube, keep our kids away from social media, because the culture sort of glorifies, you know being open sexually at a young age,
Yeah.
consuming what they're not supposed to consume at a young age. I mean, one of the saddest things I saw, and I don't know if this is a conservative take, but hearing a 6-year-old girl's sing WAP,
Yeah, I don't like that.
like
I've seen a bunch of different stories about that. I mean, even when people are glorifying like the Kardashians and stuff like that, and they had the little girl who's imitating, what, I don't know if it was a WAP Ice. I think I had covered it because it was an Ice Spice, a female artist where she's. This is crazy. This is not a thing that kids should be doing, and that's the reason that bothers me about, a lot of the kid channels, because they're sexualizing things. And I
Yes.
don't, my 5-year-old, my 8-year-old should not know about, sexualizing a character. It's not a thing. They're kids. When we grew up, we didn't think about half that stuff. You know what I mean? We wanted to, because we wanted to see, a certain character. We wanted to watch the Ninja Turtles, be Ninja Turtles. We wanted to watch,
Girls had
Captain
cooties
Planet.
until we were preteens.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so I
I
think
think
we're taking.
that's a huge part. Like at the end of the day, I feel like we can have the best education, we can have whatever the resource out there,
Yeah.
but us as a society, as
Yeah.
a culture, if we don't implement, it's not gonna change.
Yep. 100%.
Like another problem. Like, are you gay? Are
Yeah.
you lesbian? Like, why do we have to be okay with that? Like
Yeah.
the reality, and we tell our kids, like we have to respect, every person's
Right.
choice.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're wrong.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you are a female,
Uh-huh.
and when you're turning that age of 11 and 12,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you're probably gonna hang out with girls,
Yeah.
and boys are gonna hang out with boys, because that's just the reality. Like a teenager feels more confident with females, and
Right.
boys feel more like men with men's.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you like girls,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't mean you like boys.
Right.
So, giving that understanding to our kids,
Yeah.
that you can have feelings towards your girls' friends, doesn't mean that you like girls.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
100%. Yeah.
it's just like a sisterhood.
But it's because of the society that's
Like
just like,
the
oh man,
society,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we go back.
Oh, you like girls? It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that this is exactly what you are.
Yeah.
And then they start getting that, that idea in their
And
head.
it's a fine line of one, knowing that people are gonna like who they're gonna like,
Right.
but also not over dramatizing certain aspects of how you're growing up.
Yeah.
Just because you really really like your best friend who's the same sex as you,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you have a romantic affiliation for it.
Right.
And on the reverse side, though, if you do, how do we teach you to love one another?
Yeah.
No matter what you like, right?
Right.
So it is an absolute fine line of one, not over dramatizing it, but make sure you're respecting everybody's
Exactly.
preference.
Respect. I was
Yes.
thinking about that as you were saying it. One thing that actually two different things. I want to mention something before I go into the question that I have for you, Rosa. Is you said tools earlier. I
Yes.
wanted to piggyback on that because of the fact that you're right. In this case, we need to make sure that we're using the tools right for our kids. Making sure that we are monitoring what they're watching, what they're doing, and stuff like that.
right.
You had mentioned earlier about certain classes and stuff like that that us as parents or that people should be doing. The question I had for, and even to for you, Christian, should parents take some type of education or some type of certification to become a parent? Do you guys believe?
Certification, I'm gonna say right away no. I'll
Yeah.
I'll let my wife answer on the any classes or studying or anything like that.
Yeah.
Classes, I mean, to be a parent, there is not a book. Like
Yeah.
I know everybody says that,
Yeah.
every kid it's different. Um, I think that for having a kid, you should be mentally mature.
Okay.
That kind of help a
Yeah.
lot. I was at a young age. I had my firstborn,
Yeah.
but I think I was mentally prepared for that.
Right.
I wasn't.
I
No.
I was mentally prepared for that because that's what I saw it in my brain, and I'm like, okay, that's what I want,
Yeah.
at a young age. I want my family. I want to come home. I want to see my little girl, like, hey, mommy, how was your day? My
Yeah.
husband. That's what I wanted. But if you're not ready for that,
Right.
you shouldn't get into those business at all.
Yeah. Understand. I want to go over a couple of opinions. I know we're kind of cutting close a little bit on time, but I wanted to go over two opinions, and then we'll go into to the next segment real quick. But four children. I don't know if you guys have heard the story, but four children were found alive in the Amazon
That's
Oh
such a
yeah,
cool
40
story.
days after the plane had crashed. Is nuts.
we'll talk about it all
Yeah.
over.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were found by the Colombian army. As a mother, as a father, what are you guys doing in this situation? That's your kids. Like it's crazy because when being a parent, it emotionalizes you. It kind of makes you weak in a sense. When I hear about these stories, as a father, I'm like, a million questions are going through my head. What do you guys, what is your guys' intake on that situation?
Well, just the ages,
Yeah.
like one of them, it was 11
Yeah.
13, 9, 5 or 4 and
and
11 months.
11
Yeah.
months.
The 11
11
months.
months?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
one of
Yes.
the youngest was 11 months
11
old.
months.
40 days. I don't know if you guys are hearing me. It's just 40
Yeah.
days
11
after the crash.
They started interviewing the kids after, I think I read this either on Forbes or CNN. Um the mom was alive a few days after the crash. So the kids, I think of the experience. The kids
It's
not only
crazy.
not only
watch
either
them.
react after that crash, right?
Yeah.
But they see, the incident before them, the mutilation of the pilots that were at the front, but also a mom who's so injured that she's gonna pass away in a few days, and the mom left them with a little bit of guidance before she went, but just thinking of the kids experiencing all that tragedy and watching their mom die.
And still lasting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I got goosebumps just thinking about it because I don't know if people are realizing everything they went through. The
Well,
trauma, just the trauma. I mean, there's so many different things with that.
how many adults have a car, like an airplane crash, and
Yeah.
they don't survive?
Yeah.
So for these kids, to be able to survive 40 days, going through all this stuff, like I can't imagine, like at night,
Yeah.
uh, who set up the fire,
Yeah.
um, animals that
I mean,
I
that's
don't,
another thing.
yeah,
It's not just they got 40 days in California, 40 days in the forest. This is the Amazon jungle that they got lost in. Like,
There's a picture, the first picture released when the story went live. The soldiers are standing next to the kids when they found them for the first time, and I made this comment to her that you can see that one of the paramedics, one of the soldiers, has to physically pick up the head of the younger boy
yeah,
because
it breaks my heart.
he couldn't sustain it,
Yeah.
right? That's how malnutrition they were when they found them. So it is not only does it speak, of course, to them as kids and the abilities that they have being natives, um, but just the absolute damage that their bodies went through.
Yeah.
At some point they'd spend many days without food, and man, the 13-year-old is an
she's a hero.
Yeah.
absolute hero.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine as an adult trying to keep a group of kids motivated enough to survive, yet alone her doing it with all of them and the 11-month-old. That kid deserves the absolute complete care of that government for all of her
Here's the
life.
thing
Because
too is they don't even understand what they're gonna have to go through after. Now that now they get now they're technically kind of safe. They still have to now they have to grieve. Everything that they've witnessed. Now they have to figure out. I don't know. I
I,
it,
Yeah.
it
I
breaks my heart.
I can
It breaks
speak
my
to
heart.
that because we have a very close we have a very close situation with our family where we witness some of our siblings go through losing their mother.
Yeah,
They're my adopted brothers and sisters.
yeah,
You will be absolutely surprised of h- how how much they can go and actually function after something traumatic like that. It is, of course, there's exceptions to the rules,
yeah.
but I believe the rule is that kids and just people in general
Right.
are extremely strong to events like this, to where it doesn't necessarily stop them from being able to do anything they want when they grow up.
Yeah. Wow. One more opinion. A teen was kicked off of a school bus for shooting fireworks on the school bus. What are you guys doing if this is your kid?
The biggest punishment I've done to our daughter, we took away all her electronics for a whole year.
Yeah.
Um,
I got kicked off a school bus.
so there, if I can, because I know my kids, right?
Yeah.
Especially Esme, I'll put her in the example again. I don't see her capable of doing something like that. But if I had, if somebody told me your daughter did this and my daughter did not admit to it,
Yeah.
I'll have a trouble believing it.
Yeah.
But she's pretty good. She's admitted to some bad things. If she admitted it and I knew 100% that she did it,
Yeah.
uh, we do not fear setting heavy punishments.
Yeah.
That's another thing, going back to, I think I didn't say my answer about if am I good, or do I, if I was a good mother,
Yeah.
or um I think I know my kids.
Yeah.
And please, parents, know your kids.
Yeah.
Know about the capacity that they have. Or, even if you drop them off at your brother or sister's house for sleepover, have in mind that your kid, it's a certain way when he is or she is with you, and there's a certain way when they're outside of the household, outside of the dad or mom
Right.
vision.
Yeah.
If your kid is still the same even when you're not there, I think
You're doing a
makes
That
pretty
yeah.
solid
you're
job.
doing a
That
great
speaks
job.
Yeah,
volumes.
yeah.
And that's what I was telling him. Like Esme, she just went to soccer camp for a whole week at Flagstaff.
Yeah.
She stayed at the university up there for a whole week.
Wow.
And every day she was calling me and telling me, "Hey, mom, this is what happened. This is what they did." And I I told Christian, like I'm very proud of her, that I'm very proud of myself too, that she was able to tell me everything,
Yeah.
and she was still being responsible, and like just a 9-year old waking up at 5:30 in the morning, getting herself ready,
Determined. Self discipline. Yeah.
Yeah. So start, if you haven't done it, like start at a young age,
It's,
discipline your kids.
is
Yeah.
watching her go through the struggle of sustaining her values.
Yeah.
It was impressive, man. It was quite. We grew as parents. She grew as an individual. It was absolutely impressive watching her go through that.
And I do have to agree. And also to add, I think it's very important to know your kids because of the fact that if they're ever going through something personal, they can come out to you straight out and talk to you. Because you never want to have those stories where your kid is just like they wanted to tell you, where they might have been, bullied, harassed, sexual harassed, just whatever the case is. You want to make sure that they come to you.
Yeah.
I think that's a very valid point, a very honest point.
And just one answer from her when I told her, because one of the girls was being bullied to her.
Yeah.
And I was like, baby, why you don't stop and say something, like something hard so she can stop?
Yeah.
She's like, Mom, that's not what God wants for me. And then
Uh-huh.
after that, I'm like, okay, never mind.
Yeah. But she doesn't want to endure the pain though either.
Right.
Well,
That's all we
well, what I
explained.
what I told my wife, because that was actually my wife's reaction. It's
Yeah.
like, well, there's one thing about being passive and just letting yourself get bullied.
Yeah.
But I told her was, if she's being passive and it's not crushing her,
Yeah.
that is the moral high ground.
Okay.
Um, so she absolutely taught us a lesson.
And I agree with that too because I don't know if you guys ever read Sun Tzu's Art of War.
No,
It
I'm familiar
teaches
with
you it teaches you how to fight without using violence. So you're using peace, you're using serenity, you know? Fight the bigger fight without using violence, without resorting to violence.
That's what we kind of teach our girls on the soccer team. You
like
know,
the politics of war.
Yeah,
like there is girls out there that they're gonna try to push you down, put your foot, so that way you can fall.
yeah,
And like we cannot control that.
right,
That's how it is, society, world, people. We cannot control what other people does or say or think about us.
right.
What we control is what we can do.
Yeah.
And the only way we can answer back to them is going back to the field and score. That's it.
Wow. I love it.
Nobody's gonna know. Oh.
You know what that means. It's now time for the know, the O, and the laugh. It's where this and every show we give out a random hack, fun fact, message, or joke. Today's hack: kids not eating their crust off their sandwiches. Well, take those crusts and spin them in circles. Stick it on a stick and dip it in some butter, cinnamon, and sugar, and make some delicious treats. Have you guys ever tried that?
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. So like some kids will eat everything but the crust.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just literally just round it, stick it on a stick, and put just like cinnamon toast kind of thing.
Yeah, you make like a French toast type of thing.
Yeah, it's so good.
Sounds like
yeah.
ghetto churros.
Oh, bro, it is. It's a very yep. And I also wanted to point out a tip that was brought to me by my good friend Iesha. That Main Event has joined Kids Bowl free, and registration is now open. Do you guys go to Main Event?
Yes.
Yeah. So now they're doing where kids can bowl for free.
Oh,
So you register your kids to get 2 free games of bowling each day at your participating
Team event?
locations all summer long. All summer
Wow.
long. Just choose your location, create your account for the 2023, and you're all set. It's that easy. Yeah. So thank you, Iesha, for that one.
Thank
No
you.
problem. I'm glad you said that too. Let's get a freaking group one going sometime.
Yeah, that'd be
soon
fun.
before the summer's over.
Yeah.
Go through with, like,
I'm a little competitive, so
show up
Yeah.
with like 30 kids. Like,
I made 110 at bowling, man. That's my score right there.
yeah.
I live with it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably average. Yeah, but I do got a joke, and this time I'm gonna switch it up. So I'm doing knock knock jokes. Are you guys familiar with knock knock jokes?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Patrick.
So I'll give one. Let me see. I'll give one for each of you. Knock knock.
Who's there?
I eat mop.
I eat mop who?
Wait, you do what?
I eat mop.
You get it?
No, but LL.
I eat poop. You get it? But it's like I eat mop, poop.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Actually,
oh, I was totally thinking you just had him say I eat mom.
Yeah, it's like I ate a mop. I was
No,
like,
I eat because he's supposed to say I eat mop who.
Oh.
Okay, let's try you, Rosa. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Europe.
Europe.
Who?
Europe. Who?
I'm a what?
Europe. Who?
Yeah, that's not nice.
Another poop joke.
You're a poo?
Yeah,
Did you
I
just
chose the
Google
wrong
poop
show
jokes?
for that one?
dad jokes. I got a whole line of them. That's what I'm saying. Some are funny, some are dry.
I think that might have been jokes
Yeah.
for the shit show.
Maybe. Actually, that's why I bring water. 'cause
Knock,
sometimes who's there?
Ash,
Ashu.
bless you.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. That's why I bring water because jokes can be a little dry. But
Okay.
and the message.
A sip to that.
Yeah, and the message. The best part about parenting is watching your kids grow, but it's also the hardest part. Take the time now to enjoy the little moments. Get off your devices, schedule a hooky day or day off, and just make it a day for you and the child. Time is precious, and we can never get back those moments. And as we wrap up the show, I want to thank today's guests, Christian and Rosa. How'd you guys feel?
This is nice.
Yeah. Do you guys want to plug anything? Tell where they can follow you guys at? Maybe your stream.
No, I will share the podcast in my socials to my own personal contacts.
Yeah.
So make sure that you share it. Make sure you support this podcast as much
Yeah.
as you guys can.
Yeah. You don't want to talk about your stream? Where they can
No, because I'm a full-time coach now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm always I do have a foot on social media
Yeah.
and doing all that, but we have that on a pause. So no, just please, anybody watching this that knows me, support my man Patrick right here by sharing and liking
Appreciate
and
it.
everything.
Soccer
Yes.
teams.
Yeah, thank you.
for the
Yeah,
soccer
man.
teams? You
Oh
guys
yeah,
take
Thank
look,
donations or
we're,
anything for the
Yeah.
soccer team?
I mean, we came directly from the field,
Right.
so I'm the head
Yes.
coach for RSL Arizona West Valley. I do appreciate that call out because yes, if you are a blessed human monetarily,
Yeah.
you just want to share that blessing with others, please donate to the cause.
How do they donate?
You can donate by looking for my socials. I can get you guys a link that you can do that for
Yeah, please do.
because you will be donating to a nonprofit organization. You do get tax exempts if you're doing it, so it's an awesome way to share with the community. Especially, I have 34 kids under me right now.
Wow.
You'll be doing them a huge service. Seasons are long and expensive, so the more the better. And for that, you can find me as Christian Martinez on Facebook, Hanky Dama underscore OP on absolutely every other social media out there.
Okay, you said Christian. Can you just more or less tell me how to spell Christian? Because there's like a million different ways.
Yes, sir. Christian.
Okay. And I started doing this thing, Rosa. I want you to I'm gonna give you the spotlight. What message can you give other parents watching this? What's the best advice?
Parents, know your kids. Yes. Talk to them every day. How was your day at school? What do you guys did? Not just like, oh, it was good, fine. That's it. No. Go more in depth in that. Investigate, like, hey, who was your best friend? What do you guys did? What activities? What's your plan for this afternoon? Stuff like try to have more conversation than just like, it was okay. It was fine. Yeah.
Nice. And Christian, what is your kids are gonna watch this later on down the road? What is one thing you want them to always know?
Um, I love them. I want them to be better than me, and I also want them actually to have. I know this is horrible, but I want them to have more than me. And that's on the monetary, emotional, intellectual, absolutely everything. I want them to have more than me. So hopefully you got there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This one was a really good one, and I appreciate the both of you guys coming out, sharing your guys' success story, and this is a beautiful thing. So this is my way of giving you guys your roses. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Doors always open for when you guys want to come back.
Thank you.
I want to thank the whole crew here at Habari Entertainment. Please like and follow Habari Live Podcast, Habari Entertainment. Please also check out One Love on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Stay safe out there, stay hydrated, and make it a great day. And we're out.